Concept 4, word wrap. Word wrap's another very simple concept to understand because all it really means is that when you finish typing a sentence, or when you run out of screen space rather, it'll automatically wrap the line of text down to the next line. This, of course, seems normal to us unless you grew up using a typewriter and actually remember when you had to grab it by one hand and pull it back to the other side to start over. So, on page WD 1.19, we see that this concept begins. And again, it tells us to use the end button to move to the end of the document and type in Earth's greatest unspoiled habitats and find out how you can experience the adventure of a lifetime. End it with a period, and of course it tells you to correct any spelling or grammar mistakes you've made, and you see what has happened here. As we finished typing the word can and moved on to experience, the computer recognized that we had reached the length of the page and automatically word wrapped us around back to the beginning. It tells us to move to the end of the sentence and press enter twice, and then type in your name. And of course, it wants you to actually type in your individual name. Hit enter. Type in the current date. And turn off our show hide markings, which again is in the home tab, paragraph group, right up here. Click that off. And now it's going to tell us to go ahead and save. And I'm going to click save up here. It'll ask me where you want to save. Now, I recommend that you make a folder on your desktop for this class in particular. You'll see that I'm just going to save it to my desktop here. All right, and I'm just going to name it Flyer, and then I will hit save. Then we're on to editing documents. Now that we've saved this one, and this is typically how this class works. We'll work on a little bit, and then we will save it, and then we'll come up to File here and close our folder. So we just have Word open, and then we're going to open up another document, and these will be part of the data files that you have downloaded. And you're going to open up these documents, and it'll be very similar to what we just have done, except it will be further along, and then we'll work with editing it from there. And so you can see it mentions this on page WD 1.22 to come up here to open. And it's going to ask you where you want to open it. Now, I'm not sure where you'll put your files. I keep mine typically on my desktop. And so you'll see me coming to my desktop throughout these labs, and you'll see that there are folders here, say Word Files, and I'm going to come in here and open up my Word files, and you'll see WD Lab 1 Student Files. These are all the files you should need for this lab, and we're going to look for Flyer 1. Remember, we just saved one as Flyer. Well, here's one that they have worked on, and they've gone a little bit further. So I'll click and open that up. Now, anytime you open up a document, it's always a good idea just to scroll through it. And our book usually says that, but beyond that, I always just recommend scroll through, see exactly what we're working with here. Again, it's an adventure travel tours, 4 new adventures, just like we were just working with. And you can see if you look on page WD 1.22 where it goes through and shows you a lot of the little errors and things that have been changed in this document. And so now we're going to play with it a little bit. And it tells us to use the Control Home hotkey setup to go back to the beginning of the document. And you'll note that our book often does this. It asks you to do this, that, or the other thing. And you might think, boy, isn't there a simpler way to do that? And sometimes there is. Typically in Word, everything that you're going to do can be done in about 3 different ways. And so we'll look at some of the different ones. So, in any way, move up to the beginning of your document. We're going to move the cursor to the A in the word R in the first sentence of the paragraph below the list of tours. And so that will be, okay, our first paragraph below the list of tours, beginning right there. Okay. And we're going to type in, we're going to add some text, presentations, space, and times. And we're going to hit the space bar again. And keep on continuing on here. And then we're going to double click on the word made in the next sentence. Looks like I had an extra space in there. Double click on made. You'll see that it highlights, and we're going to type over this and type held in. Then we're going to move to the letter A of attend at the beginning of the first paragraph, right up here. And we're going to move, and we're going to hit backspace and connect those paragraphs. Then we're going to move to the F in 4. And in the second sentence below the list of tours, so that would be right here, all 4. And we're going to hit Control Delete, which gets rid of the entire word there. So again, you could select that word and delete it as well, just showing you different ways to do it. Then we're going to move to the letter Z, right here, and following the word hotel, and we're going to drag to the right until all of the text including the space before the word location is highlighted. So clicking here, oops, and right there. And then we're going to use our delete button and get rid of that jibber jabber that somebody had put in there for us to delete. And then it tells us to hold down Control and click anywhere in the third sentence of the paragraph below the list. So that would be the hotels are located here. You'll see that by holding down and clicking on a sentence, we get rid of the whole sentence by hitting delete. And then the whole purpose of deleting that is to show us our undo button. And we have several places we can find undo. Typically we can come right up here and you'll see the undo icon is an arrow kind of pointing backwards. And if you click on that once, you will undo one action. And you can see right there it shows you the shortcut, Control plus Z. Control Z will do an undo as well. And there's also a little drop down arrow that will allow you to see multiple things. And you can see you can undo up to, at least for me, it's saying 7 actions right here. And we're going to come all the way back to delete word. And that's going to add in some of the things that we just did. The last 3 things we did have been added back in. And now the book is going to tell us to hit the redo button, which is right next to the undo button. And these are good buttons to get familiar with because typically we make little mistakes that we want to undo, and sometimes we undo too much, and we can use the redo button. And you click on that, and you see it fixes the last one, and there's the second to last one, and we're only going to click it twice. Once you've made these small edits to your document, it should look a little bit better. And it tells us to go ahead and open up the File tab here. And we're going to come to Save As. And anytime you're working with a file, and this is important, anytime you're working with a file that you have uploaded or have opened to begin working with, it's always good when you save it to make sure that you save it, 1, to a different place, and I recommend, again, like a homework file, and 2, that you save it as a different name. And if you don't do this, what happens is that you save over your original document. And if you save over your original document, then if you, for some reason, need to open it up again, it won't be there. So I'm going to do that, and I'm going to call this one, and I'm going to save it just as Flyer 1. So I'm going to find where I put that, and I believe I put that on my desktop. And I'm going to zoom down here, find my flyer, click on that. That's what I want to save it as. Save. It's going to ask me if I want to replace my existing file, and I do. So I'm going to click OK. Once you've done that, it tells us to move our cursor to the beginning of the word for, right here. Press Control Delete to get rid of that. And then to click in the left margin to select that entire line, so right there. And I'm going to go to the font group, and I'm going to click on the Change Case button. It's the one with a capital A and a lowercase a. And you can see there are several different ones you can choose. Sentence case, which is what it's always set to. Lowercase, meaning everything's lower. Upper, everything's upper. Capitalize each word, which is what we're going to select. And that strange toggle case, which I'm not sure why you'd ever use. So I'll click on that, and you can see that it now capitalizes. Could I have gone in and just changed the end there myself? Of course I could, but there's a small little feature that you should learn and know about. Moving on, our book takes us now on page 1.29 to copying and moving selections using copy and paste. It's a very handy feature. Most of you, I'm sure, know how to do this already. Typically, when we get stuff off the internet, we copy and paste it. But just in case you don't, let's go there. On the next page, it asks us to turn back on our show hide. And so I'll come up there and do that. And then it tells us to select the text, Adventure Travel Tours, not including the paragraph symbol at the end. So, right here, those few. Trying not to get the paragraph symbol. There we go. And I'm going to use my copy button. Our copy button can be found in the clipboard group of the Home tab. And you can click on that. It's also used as Control-C. That's its shortcut. So I've now copied it. And I'm going to move the cursor to the left of the number 1 in the phone number. So on the left of number 1, click right there. And then I'm going to come back up and paste it, again found in the clipboard area of the Home tab. And you'll see that what I copied is pasted right there. Once I've done that, I am going to click the Control Paste Options button. See right there, little paste options has appeared. I'm going to click on that, and you can see there's some different options here. And one says keep source formatting, merge formatting, and keep text only. And these are used in different places for different things. Here we don't need to do any of it, but again, if you were copying a web page, it's often good to keep text only so you don't get all the strange things that can sometimes get caught up in the HTML code that they use to make web pages. But you don't need to use that now. We'll just click outside of the box. And then we are going to type in the word at and put a space there. So now it says call Adventure Travel Tours at 1-800, etc. Then, moving on to the next step, we're going to select we, the third sentence of the first paragraph. No, and we needed to get rid of we and change are into is. Okay. Once we've done that, we're going to select the line of text, Costa Rica Rivers and Rainforests, right down here. And we're going to use our cut button, also in our clipboard. And we're going to move to the I in the Inca Trail Machu Picchu title. Click right there. And then we're going to use Control-V, as in Victor. And that is our paste button. And we'll see we're just putting it right there. In addition to this method of cutting and pasting, there's also the drag and drop. And it tells us to select the entire line of Safari in Tanzania, including the space at the end of the line. So I'm going to select that, and I'm going to drag that selection to the left of India Wildlife Adventures. So I'm going to click it, and you can see a little dotted line as I drag it. I'll drag it there and drop it off. Once we've done that, we can come up here to our shortcut menu and hit save.